All right, great. So allow me to get started tonight in our session. 10 life decisions that attract wealth. 10 life decisions that attract wealth. So I'm going to dive right in so that we can begin to understand wealth first and foremost, then build from there and be able to understand how we can make the decisions and particularly what are these 10 life decisions. And guess what? I've added a bonus decision, so there will be 11. So at the end, I'm going to give you one more decision that will help you with attracting wealth. So get to stay tuned and just get to learn this particular life decision. So just to build a background into this, allow me to move into the next slide and be able to dig into it. So we would like to get started in our journey by asking ourselves really this question: what is wealth? Many of us have probably read books before, have even Googled this before. We've probably even attended class for this, or we've listened to a YouTube video about wealth. And wealth is defined in many ways by the greats, by lecturers, by people we meet each and every day. And it has got many forms that it's taken up, tangible forms, intangible forms. But then what words really connote wealth? And how would it best be defined? I'm going to try to bring this definition of wealth into a statement. And this statement is going to be able to cover wealth in its facets. And then we'll be able to build from there and move closely to how this can relate with you and me, and why wealth is something important that you will be able to take time off your busy schedules to learn about it. I mean, if it wasn't that important, we wouldn't want to do this. But this session is going to dig into the depths of wealth. Then we'll move into the decisions. So wealth can best be defined, and watch this, as the total of all store of value. Let those words sink in right now for a bit. A total of all store of value, a store of value, including both money and non-monetary assets. And watch this again, measured in time. That is wealth defined for you. So things you need to take note of is, one, a store of value. So when you talk about wealth, you're talking about stores of value. If you talk about the wealth of a nation, you're talking about stores of value. A wealth of this tycoon, you're talking about his stores of value. This has stores of value. You know, that's what wealth refers to. And we're going to talk more into what stores of value really begin to dig deep into. So it can include money, which most of us really relate to as well. And it could also include non-monetary assets that are valuable. But get this, measured in time. So if wealth is given, you told someone says he is wealthy. The way you know how wealthy one person is from the other is that how long can that store of value sustain them? All right. If we say, let's give an example. We say Elias Chipimo, or we say maybe Strive Masiwa is wealthy. Their levels of wealth may differ, meaning that their levels of store of value for both money and non-monetary assets may differ in time. So if maybe one of them stopped generating any form of value today, how long can they stay living on that store of value before they need to get time to work again and start building again? So that's how much you can tell how wealthy one person is from another. Today, what determines the wealth of your neighbor and yours, and that distinguishes the both of you, is the measurement in time of wealth. So if my store of value lasts longer than my neighbor, and by store, remember both money and non-monetary assets, if it lasts longer than my neighbor, if it would take me 5 months, 10 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years, a decade to a century or beyond the numbers of days of men, then you can be able to tell the level of wealth one person is at. So now, if you're to make life decisions that attract wealth, you cannot be making those decisions without this at the back of your mind, knowing that the wealth you want to attract will be determined by the quality of your decisions. And I hope that's very clear. Because if I'm going to attract a wealth that can be measured in a longer space of time, the quality of the decisions I'm making today may determine how far in the measurement of time the wealth I have is. Today, some of you joining us, I'd love to believe all of you joining us tonight, you have got some form of wealth, all right? And if you measure that wealth across time, we would see variations in each and every one of us, our results. So being on this platform, it's hoped, and I believe hope, that you'll be able to build wealth that even goes beyond your life, beyond your days, beyond how much time you have. You should be able to build a wealth that can benefit generations to come. And that's the kind of thinking, the kind of decisions that we'll be discussing. And this talks about building both money and non-monetary assets. So hope that is clear. Let's dive into the next lesson right here about wealth. So in the next lesson, we're going to really look at what we're looking at tonight. So why we should make and manage decisions, why that's important, and the 10 life decisions that attract wealth, plus a bonus at the end. So I'm going to drop you one bonus, maybe tempted to drop in another one, and you will be able to learn these decisions. And from today, you can use this class as a mirror upon which you can be able to say, what am I doing right? What am I not doing wrong? More like a guideline, what you can be able to assess yourself. So maybe you're going to tick a number of these boxes. Some of them you're not going to tick them. Don't feel bad. That's why you're in this class. Then you'll be able to see. Maybe you score a 3 out of 10, a 4 out of 10, 2 out of 10, 5 out of 10. Well, maybe even 10 out of 10, who knows? Or plus the 11, which takes us to 110%. Who knows how many you score? But this is going to be very helpful because it's going to bring to mind. And my hope is that it challenges you to re-examine where you are in the journey of building your wealth, which is that store of value. So before I move into the session tonight, let me just talk a bit into value. Value is a word that is thrown out there many times. People talk about value, how valuable is he, how valuable is she, how valuable are they, how valuable is this person's contribution to the team, how valuable is your contribution to your class. And value is a word that's out there. Now, the world respects value. I've said it before on this media, this platform, Unzapreneurs, Management Insights, hosted by the Unzapreneurs team, with Aaron being the head of it, and a great team that backs this. I've mentioned this many, many times. I talk about how the world rewards you based on perceived value. Now, if the world is going to be able to reward you based on that perceived value, you better start on building it, because you want rewards, because that reward is what then results more and more to increased value. So you may start with intangible assets, or say intangible forms of that value, that wealth we've talked about. And because of that, you may get a conversion into the money part of it. To better understand this, let me go back to this definition. Wealth is the what total of all store of value, including both money and non-monetary assets measured in time. So the good part about this definition of wealth, it shows you that you can have money help you build non-monetary assets, or you can have non-monetary assets help you build money. Isn't that brilliant? Isn't that just like beautiful? If you build your value so much you can convert some of that value for money, which is true a store of value. And if you build money so much, you can convert that money into non-monetary assets, you know, into testimonials, into ideas that are patented and become something of value. With money, you can do that. You get to see how the conversion of store of value operates within the realm of wealth, which is what? Measured in time. So with that foundation that I've built in, let's get to dive into this. I hope from tonight you're going to look at wealth at a different dynamic, and you begin to relate better with wealth systems of the world more easily. My mentor once challenged me and told me that everything around you has a system, and every system has got an agenda. So you always need to ask yourself, what agenda is behind this system I'm functioning? You hear TEF is doing, they're receiving applications for entrepreneurs and like, oh, an opportunity to get some money. And you go and apply. You always have to ask yourself, okay, this is a system, there's an agenda behind it. So understand the agenda behind every system. Everything has got an agenda. So you need to always know that. And likewise, wealth has got an agenda and it's got systems. So you just being able to have this at the back of your mind will help you better position yourself in different situations. And to help you do that, you need to learn how to make and manage the decisions. All right? To make and manage decisions. So why should we then make and manage decisions? I'm going to allow two people to give us this build up to this. The first one is the late Dr. Miles Monroe, who quoted, and I'm going to quote him. He says, if you want to be successful, don't seek success. Seek to become a person of value. All right? Seek to become a person of value. He says, don't seek success, but seek to become a person of value. All right? So what this then means is that you and I present tonight must have this line of thinking to say, how do I become a person of value first before success comes my way? And he wrote it very well and put it out there clearly. So even as we are discussing tonight, these 10 decisions plus a bonus decision, you want to be thinking about, how do I become a person of value? Because when you become a person of value, you are beginning to store up wealth for yourself. And that wealth has a conversion between the money elements and the non-money elements. So the second person is the late Henry Ford. He says, if money is your hope for independence, you will never have it. Never have it. So you see, there's something relating between these two great men right here, is that don't go seeking for that success, that money. But guess what? The only real security that, according to what he says, that a man will have in this world is a reserve of knowledge, experience, and ability. Now, he goes and talks about knowledge, which is an intangible thing in the most biggest sense. When you possess it, it can be in your mind. Well, it takes up tangible forms as well in written text, in digital text, with things about the exabytes we talked about when we're looking at technology in terms of technopreneurs. We talked about how an exabyte is a digit or a form of storing memory in huge amounts, that the internet has got so many exabytes. But not going away from tonight's topic, so knowledge is intangible for the most part. Experience and ability, these are other forms of value that people have. Many consultants today are able to leverage off their experiences in value, and that conversion between their value helps them get money on the other side, which is also a store of value. So these stores of value, there's a conversion system between the money and non-monetary forms of value. And the goal here is, when you're starting off and you want to make life decisions to attract wealth, you start by building wealth in the form of non-monetary value. Then you can use that to convert it to money that you may need to be able to solve a number of life's bills and whatnot. And for the most part, many people understand that form of wealth more easily than others. So that should be a framework I need you to think around as we build into this conversation. So now, moving on. Decisions are affected by the information we listen to. I shared a brief note in our intro text to tonight's session that there is what I call a chicken and egg scenario. You know the story, what came first, the chicken or the egg? People ask that. They've asked that in so many classes and whatnot. But likewise, is that a very tough debate to really come to a conclusion on, depending on your faith. There is this truth around decisions, and decisions are affected by the information we listen to. Believe you me, if you are listening to different things, and get this, not hearing, listening, right? If you are listening, it means that you are taking time to pay attention to the media of knowledge. And that media of knowledge is something that your mind is processing into what? Information. So now, the information you listen to every day, the news you listen to, the class you go to, the career you're undertaking, and the classes you're doing to, has been affecting your quality of decisions. Up until now, you are most likely a sum total of the decisions you've made. But guess what has influenced a lot of those decisions? The type of information we've been listening to. And so today we've got so many variations among ourselves, students with different variations, with different outcomes, despite having access to the same opportunities, the same lecturers, the same people around them, but because of different decisions made, lives are turning out differently. I asked a friend of mine to send me a nice photo. I wish I'd have had time to share it with you. It was of two people, same age, but one of them is built up, six-pack, looks young. The other one has this serious round tummy, looks really old. And they say that you can be the same age, but so they talked about how life choices matter. And I looked at that and it blew me away. I was like, wow, these people are the same age, but one looked older, one looked so old, the other looked so young. And I was amazed at how decisions over the periods of their life has changed them. But guess what? Decisions are greatly affected by the information we listen to. And you need to be able to think through what you're exposing yourself to today. So I'd like to applaud you. I believe this session and this information you're getting will help you a long way around your decision-making processes. Because 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, what will determine how different you are the decisions you're going to make. So you need to decide, and decide really well. All right, so having said that, the other reverse of this is that information we listen to can be determined by the decisions we have made. Guess what? Based on the decisions you're making today, it will determine which information you're going to be exposed to even in the future. Based on decisions you made when you're in high school, you got exposed to university information because you chose to study. When some of your friends chose to go out for gigs, disco night, they ran out of school if you're in a boarding school to go chill out at different places. And guess what? The decisions have determined the types of information you've been exposed to. And some of you would not even be in this session tonight had it been for the decisions you had made. So decisions go a great way to exposing us. There are people today learning from some of the best and the best in the world because of the decisions they've made. It has determined what they know. If you decide to become maybe a politician, enter government, there's certain information that's going to be privy to you by reason of your decision. Because you've decided to be in that position, certain information will come your way that won't go to anyone else. So in short, what I'm trying to say is that you can determine what information you will hear by the decisions you start making today. It means that if you want to know what types of investments to be making in Zambia, position yourself by the decisions you're making so that when opportunities avail themselves, you have the right information and know where to find what will help you. I've been amazed how knowing certain things in life have separated a lot of our functionalities as Make Life from different other management firms out there. Because we know certain platforms, certain accesses to licenses and whatnot, it starts redefining how productive we are. And the decisions that we are making every single day continuously affect what information we are exposed to. So if you're going to be making decisions that will attract wealth, make sure that the decisions that will put you in a place that connects you to the right information, the right people with the right information. It comes down that way. You may need time to really rethink through this over and over again and position yourselves. So decisions are affected by the information we listen to. Start listening to helpful information from today on. Information that will build you, not destroy you. Find time to dedicate to productive hours every single day of your life. Love learning, all right? Then your information will listen, okay? And then we listen to can determine the decisions we have made. So it means can be determined by the decisions we have made. So it means that the decisions I'm making today may determine the information that's coming my way. I like what one person says, when Nigerians normally are hearing their budget being read, that information, they start asking themselves, which one is my own in this one? And today Zambians will be shocked when they release the national budget. You are just laughing. No, why are they spending this on this? Hey, no, they're shying investors. Hey, there's no something for Zambians. Instead of you analyzing and seeing what is my own in this one. Okay, the government says they'll be investing in this industry. Where am I positioned to be able to ensure that some of this money comes my way as a firm? So just that decision can determine a whole difference between you and the person seated next to you. That being said, I hope we have built understanding on what wealth is: a store of value, of money and non-monetary assets measured in time. That's what defines the wealth of people. We've been able to understand how it's important for you and me to be able to first seek the non-monetary value that can be converted into money. Unless maybe you are born with a silver spoon in the mouth, then now for you to keep that wealth, you need to use some of that money to convert it to non-monetary stores of value, invest in learning, in growth, and whatnot, for you to actually sustain that wealth, because after time, you lose that money. So it remains true in every situation. And that is why families that are known to be wealthy, very few after the third generation are still wealthy, because some of them thought and relied on only one side of that store of value, which is the money side. But little did they know, because they were not building and balancing that wealth store, they were diminishing their wealth with time. So you need to know and understand how to convert the intangible monetary forms of value to its tangible money forms as well. So that being said, let me get to mention this right now. How someone thinks is far more important than the skills they possess. All right? How someone thinks is far more important than the skills they possess. So someone can be so loaded with skills, material goods, and so much ability, but if they lack sound thinking and a sound mindset, all they possess can be reduced in value. So based on your thinking, your skills, your materials, and so much can be reduced in value. Today, I've been training the executive component of our social media marketing agents. So those of them who are on the executive training platform, those of them who took the executive class, I've done 6 hours of training today in the earlier sessions. And we had some very nice conversations with our clients at Make Life. And among that conversation, I was telling them to see, you see, many people possess skills. They have talents, they're talented. But what they lack, most of them, is the business side of things. They lack the know-how, the thinking processes, the strategies that determine how they can bring value from what they have. So you can now build your store of value, but what you now need is to know which decisions you should be making to make that store of value pay you to convert it to money as well. So between the intangible forms of value and the non-intangible forms of value, what is in between is the thinking that you have, the thinking processes. That is the right type of thinking that can help you move things like skills that you possess, your experiences, all these intangible forms that can help you convert them into money forms that you may need for paying bills, acquiring assets, more assets, and growing more stores of value. And that's what you need. So tonight, when I talk about the decisions that I'm going to start talking with, and we'll go and we'll cover all of them, I want you to remember that. So let's make some progress quickly. Assets. Now, assets have been described simply as something that puts money in your pockets. This is what it has been defined of by great speakers like Robert Kiyosaki and different other people. So if it puts money in your pocket, some people have defined that as assets. So well and good, we'll use that as well. And building up a store of this value in assets should be a desired goal. Your goal must be to build up the stores of value in form of assets. Tangible assets, intangible assets. All right? So that's how you grow them now. And cash is also known as an asset form. So now, your store of value, to break it down into a more relatable way, you need to understand assets, which are things that bring what? Money in your pockets. So that will help you then define more closely what those intangible forms of value are. If they're bringing in money one or another, then they could be set in the asset form. Let me move on to say, with assets, assets can include both tangible and non-tangible things. Tangible being things that you can interact with physically, and intangible being those that you can only relate with the mind. Today, I'm privileged to own 5 mobile games that are available on App Store. I'm privileged to own copyrights to 7 books. I'm privileged to own a lot of intangible forms of value. I am a co-founder in an edtech company, and I'm a co-founder in Make Live International. And those are intangible forms of assets, all right? And they also have got, there's also then the tangible forms of assets. So you're talking about when you've got certain investments, maybe in the capital markets, in terms of bonds, you're talking about dividend stock shares that you can get at the end of it, you know, those particular values that can be put cash in hand. That's also a different way of having the asset understood. So that's some techie words. I hope it doesn't lose anyone. Let's get into why you came tonight. The first decision is for you to attract wealth is you must decide to be either a pioneer or a finisher. And let me add this in this session, better off a pioneer. And I'm going to explain that. There's a saying by Peter Thiel in his book, is it from zero, how is it again? From moving from zero to hero. Now I'm going to have to remember that name properly. So he says the next Bill Gates won't build, you know, another Microsoft. You know, the next Mark Zuckerberg won't launch a social media company. So he then trying to communicate the value that what the world is looking for is someone to do the next big thing. And that is why companies like Alphabet Inc., the one that holds Google, are always trying to invest in different things. They've invested in autonomous cars, which are, these are vehicles that don't need human beings. I mean, they're self-driving cars. They've invested in different apps. You only know perhaps just maybe 20% of Google apps. Trust me, go and search Google apps, you'll be shocked. They've had so many apps. I was looking at some of the apps sometime. Google Lens, that was the first time I saw it. It helps you be able to scan physical notes and convert them into digital notes. You just get your friend's handwriting and it's going to detect characters and can digitize that. It can be able, you can point at, I used it to once point at our dog by my place, and it was able to tell me the type of the dog, the breed. It's called Google Lens. I was like, wow, you know, if you used it and you attached it in the map featurette of it, it shows you your map in 3D. And I was like, okay, such stuff exists. I didn't know about that. I went further, found out more Google applications. So those guys are always trying to invest in the next big thing. So now in life, if you're going to attract wealth, you need to be thinking pioneer. It's good to be a finisher. And let me say this, it's good for you to work in a firm, in a company, and contribute to what other people are doing. And this is going to also bring you value. You can earn wealth from that. But remember, I talked about wealth is being measured in time. So the amount of wealth you can build as a finisher does not compare to the level of wealth, the store of value that you can have for being a pioneer in something that goes big. So it's also possible, and let me say this, to be a pioneer within what someone else has already started. So you can be a finisher, but a pioneer as you finish. So within a company, at times, you can begin to grow yourself in such a way that you begin to own some of that value. I know of stories of some people who started as employees, and 10 years, 5 years down the line, they are equity stakeholders in a company. Why? It's the decision they made. They said, I'm not going to just stay as a finisher all along. I'm going to upgrade to become a pioneer. There are some brilliant ideas that they had, and they were able to see how they could negotiate their way into the company. Some of them, the value was known, and they asked for it, and they got it. One of those people is even my mentor. He's doing great stuff. And so that's something you should know. So let me pause and ask you this. I remember this, I told you it's going to be an self-assessment. Is there anything you're pioneering? Anything that you are taking a chance at beginning to do? No one else is doing it around you, but you're pushing it. You're at the forefront of it. You're consistently communicating it. You're saying, okay, you know what? I stand for this, and I'm going to be a thought leader in this. I'm going to make sure that every person that owns a business is taking their business online in Zambia. That's one of the things I'm pioneering greatly right now. Around my networks, I'm helping people go online, setting up their e-commerce stores, helping them monetize from that, and showing them you can make money online. We're seeing that happen. And I'm pioneering that. It's not something too big in Zambia just yet. And you can pioneer a lot of things. Some people in my have seen some people pioneer being able to do book launches, and all of a sudden there were a lot of book launches popping out all over the place. So what are you a pioneer about? Are you doing anything for the first time? Are you the person who's not going to wait to do the next social media app? You're going to redefine things. Do something like the guys with Zoom decided to do. They built this platform in a different way, pioneered some new features, and guess what? COVID came, boom, $1 billion valuation. So you should decide to be a pioneer, not just a finisher. But if you're going to decide to be a finisher, at least pioneer within your finishing, and your wealth and store value is more likely to increase much, because when the world decides to appreciate you, it's high. Do you know the person that came up with the design of a wiper, the one that wipes a car, that when the rain is pouring and it's wiping, to now his family is enjoying from the royalties from that invention? Pioneer. Simple, and did it. I once saw a guy on Shark Tank who decided to design a lock that you can be able to unlock with your fingerprint. It seems like a funny thing, but all he just realized that, oh, okay, the lock hasn't changed in many years. All right, people have put codes and whatnot, but no one decided to put fingerprint on an actual physical lock. And he won a tech company exhibit and went on to also get funding from the Sharks on that program. And I was like, wow, he was a finisher pioneer. He saw what a finished work of somebody, something that someone had pioneered, and he came to finish it and pioneered on top of that. and it helped him. He took it to the next level, and it's gained him much. But even though doing that, I believe the value and respect the one who actually invented the first lock was too higher. Time won't allow me to dwell too long on these thoughts, so let me move on to the second one. You've got 10 to do. Decide to be more producer-minded than consumer-minded. Let me just say this right now. We all consume, like we consume food, we consume oxygen, you know, we're in the consuming business market, all of us. Just today, the amount of consumption that you and I have done is a lot. We've probably had breakfast, lunch, or supper. We've probably been able to utilize water, electricity, consume. We've utilized clothing. A lot of things have been consumed. But do you know, if you want to attract wealth, you need to be thinking or becoming more of a producer than you are a consumer. If you consume more than you produce, you are in the red zone. Like right now, you should be scared. I hope none of us are doing that. Or if any of us were doing that, this should be a night that we rethink things and say, am I honestly consuming more than I'm producing on a day-to-day basis? So you should begin to think production. Start thinking of what can I bring to life? What can I produce that comes from me? So when plants produce fruits, it comes from them. Have you ever written a book before? Have you ever invented something? Have you ever come up with your own way of doing crocheting, your own style of plaiting hair? How do you know? You may just redefine that for the world, you know, but are you just consuming every hairstyle that is out there? Never. I went to the barber shop and invented my own hairstyle. Well, it looks like similar hairstyles, but if you come and have a conversation, I'll tell you, this one, I produced it, right? Because it's got its own cuts. Somewhere, it's different than the one you do. I'll show you, you know? But the question is, are we producing differently? You know, are you thinking as a producer, or you're just going to stay on the consumer side of things? So ask yourself, instead, and I like how a mental mind puts it, it says, instead of you desiring, say, I'm going to buy myself a Range Rover or a Land Rover or the Mercedes V-Wagon, ask yourself, can I potentially have an industry that produces cars like that, and even better to my specification? Why own a single car when you can be the one producing the cars? It sounds like a very crazy line of thought, but who says you can't own a new car brand? I mean, there are brands that people never thought would ever come on top of the market, and boom, guess what? They came out there and they're now shining stars. Tesla was a brand that only came up, that should be in the 21st century. And today Tesla is doing fine. It's making Elon Musk a whole lot of money. Why? He chose to be a producer, not just a consumer. And today his brand is considered among top brands, you know, and it's doing fine. Of all his companies, Tesla is doing really fine as well. And you need to start thinking that way. Instead of me going to buy, you always buy shoes, but have you ever considered being able to start a shoe business, a shoe factory in Zambia? The owner of Tommy's, you know, was a person that went, the stories believe that he went to India with a friend, and when they were there for vacation, they saw a lot of people with bare feet. His friend was like, oh, they are so poor, they don't have shoes. And he believed that, he looked at it and says, oh, what a shoe business. He was thinking producer. That was his mindset. He thought of how he can produce the shoes they needed. And that changed his life. So from today, start thinking producer. Today, I have produced so many course contents. Now I'm losing count. If you ask me how many courses, Mapala, have you done now? I don't have a number for it right off the top of my head. I need someone to maybe help me database the content and give me a counter. Perhaps someone in the team will take that up. But I am consistently producing content every single time. I'm writing books. You only know of 7 books that I have written. If you came on my laptop, you are going to find 70 books in writing. And this is no kidding. If I decide to release all the books this year, I can release 70 books. I am consistently trying to think as a producer. And that's on, if you came right now, to show you the library of the books I'm writing. There's so many books. Why I'm thinking producer mindset. I need to produce something. I need to write something. You know, there was one day I sat and within a day I wrote a book. 24 hours, I counted that. That book was out and it's been out there in the marketplace. It's called Go to Market in the Box. Within 24 hours, that book was done. I thought producer, I said, I need to convey this which is within me and is working to people so that they can have it. So I produced a book from me. And guess what? That book has sold and it's converted that intangibleness to wealth on my part on the monetary side. And it's still yet to sell some more. So you need to be thinking producer. Let me move on. Decide to solve problems with the right reward. This cannot over be emphasized. This has been said by more people than one. I'm not the first person to say this. Dare I believe I'm not the last person. You need to be thinking problem solving. Mike Maddox says that the next reward is in the next problem that you solve. So if you're going to solve a problem, make sure you're solving the right problem. I say this in my book, Idea Capital Development, that talks about the winning idea. And I told of an illustration of a son who went and swept his father's workshop, and the father only rewarded him a coin. And he was upset with the dad. He's like, Dad, I've done all this work. And the father responded to him and told him to say, son, if you wanted the money you wanted me to give you, you should have solved a problem that would have given you that reward. But you have only solved a one coin problem. That day, the son learned a deep lesson that not all problems reward the same. And let me dare you to think like this. I know that you've been happy about problem solving, but let me question, if you're going to attract wealth, always ask yourself, does this problem give me the right reward? And then begin to work on it. In a session I carried out, should be this class with the ICD entrepreneurs, I just did a full session on problem solving. And I talked how you can break down problem, redefine it. And that's why you shouldn't miss any of these lessons. Some of them build on each other. There's so much connectivity. If you've been attending, I've seen so many, some of you have been interacting, and some of you are doing great stuff already. And it's great to know that these lessons are helping you. Some of you are helping your families. Last week, we had a very nice conversation around some of the stuff that have been happening. So now you need to be thinking how you solve the right problems. And this can change your life. If you're solving the right problems, it will change your life. And the problems that are right for you are the ones with the right reward. So in 2020, when the world has been plagued with a pandemic, the question that should have been on your back of your mind is, what will give me the right reward now? The reason why so many businesses have failed is not that they were not trying to solve problems. Believe you me, they were solving problems, but today those are problems that don't have the right reward. Do you know there's certain medicines in the hospital that solve for problems like malaria and other things, but they didn't receive as much funding this year than certain other medicines? It's just the season, it's the time. So now you are solving a problem, it's very valuable, but guess what? It's not the right problem. It's not going to give you the right reward. There are certain people this year, because their business involved only serving governments, and governments have been pushing monies towards COVID and whatnot. Guess what? Those businesses have been put on hold. That wealth could not have been attracted to them. So ask yourself, is this the right reward? Or will I get the right reward for solving this problem now? And if you're thinking like this every time, when we saw this COVID thing as make life, we quickly repositioned ourselves. We began to restructure, we remodeled. I ran you guys through how you should be thinking as a business in this session. And that session, I think, was one of my best sessions that we carried out on Unzapreneurs, and it went longer than an hour. And I showed you a table on how you can know what you should be doing, whether you change your industry or you change your business model. And I ran through business model, revenue models that are relevant to the times. Those of you that missed that, please trouble me in the Unzapreneurs group that I resend that lesson. I hope I recorded it. I believe I did, so that you listen to that. It's going to help you. So that's on problem solving. Let me move on because of time. Decide to think big and not small. Decide to think big and not small. That tells itself. I quoted earlier to say that the way someone thinks is better than whether they have skills, they have got abilities, but if their thinking is wrong, then their value will be reduced. And remember, we're talking about how you attract wealth, which is what? A store of value. Now, I've seen this many times. And most of us in Zambia suffer from what I call small thinkingness. We suffer from this. It takes a lot to break that. When we start telling you to sell something, you're only thinking about, your only strategy to selling is make it cheaper than my competitor. That's very bad. I really don't like when I ask someone to say, how are you going to penetrate the market? It will be cheaper. I like the concept. Yes, sometimes when you're producing a new product, sometimes you may have to, for the first few months, have it so cheaper, but that becomes its price and that becomes your unique value proposition. No, why are you unique? We are cheaper. Well, at some point that should stop being the case. Yes, you can be more affordable, it's okay, but don't make that be the most thing. Today I'm seeing people sell books, ebooks, that could potentially be valuable at ridiculous prices. And I say people will stop valuing knowledge in Zambia because of this. How do you sell an ebook at 10 kwacha? I was upset. I won't mention names, but I'm upset to certain people doing certain things. I said there's certain things that people will only attach value if you put a price that's worthy of it. There are certain books I failed to read because someone gave it to me as an ebook and sent it to me. And just because they did that, psychologically, my mind has not allowed certain time to read certain books. But any book I have bought in this world, I have found time to read it. I spent on it. And now if we are trying to cheapen certain things, we are destroying our societies. And we don't know we are doing that. Now, this only happens because many people are thinking small. You build something that can change the world, you only want it to be able to hit Lusaka. And some person out there comes and sees what they're doing. They are thinking the world. They go and reduplicate your idea, change a few things so that it's legal, and guess what? Boom, they're the next big sensation. They're the next big thing. But guess what? They got it from you. And I don't want us to have that. I want us to be thinking big. If you're doing something, and one of the greatest questions being asked today in investor opportunities, I'm privileged to have sat as a judge on a panel for startups. And one of the things that I always like to ask is the scale of something. How scalable is this? Where do you see this going? What's the size of the market? I normally tell you that there's your general market, there's the serviceable market, and there's a target market. Those of you who've done paid trainings with Make Live, we go deeper into markets. We tell you how to segment target markets and how you can identify each persona of those markets. You know, and because those things take time, they couldn't be taught within a short space. You see, I'm already struggling to finish this work here. So think big. Time is not with us. Let me move on. Decide to be diligent and not lazy. I mean, do not be lazy, okay? This is clear. And let me just share this point to back this. When I talk about diligence here, I'm not talking about just working hard, because there are many people who are working hard but are not attracting wealth. The kind of diligence I'm talking about in this decision-making process is diligence that builds your capacity. It's diligence that is smart. This is diligence where you apply yourself to the things that matter the most. If you're going to be running a company and you're the CEO, I tell people who have consulted, because I consult for certain CEOs, right? I tell them to say, as a CEO, the thing that should be on your mind are two things. The strategic plan of your company that you can build with you and the board of directors of your company. And that's what we do at Make Life. We have a board of directors of 7 people, and we've got executive management of 5 people, and we consistently extend. So now I tell them to say, as a CEO of a company, you should be thinking about the strategic plan. Strategic plans are more than a year, always at the back of your mind, the numbers you want to hit. Then you must also now be responsible for the tactical plan of your company. So the tactical plans are what you and your executive management come and build together. That is how you're going to fulfill the strategic plan. So if you say this year we want to be able to sell 5,000 t-shirts, if you're running a t-shirt business. So that's a strategic plan. Your executive management and you diligently must come up with a tactical plan on how you sell 5,000 t-shirts. So you start thinking about which target markets can buy this number of t-shirts. Okay, that's a small target market. How do we pair it with a target market of a shared value so that we actually sell more t-shirts? Now that's a tactical plan. And as a CEO, you should apply yourself to that smart thinking. Do not apply yourself to doing things that are always avoiding you, making you devoid of the tactical plan. I agree that yes, you have to have hands-on as a CEO, but do not let that deprive you from paying attention to your most two important roles, thinking, strategy, and tactic. I love being a respecter of time. Can I just get at least 6 of us, say if you can afford me 15 more minutes, and I'll end exactly at 20:45. Quickly in the chat box, say yes, yes, yes. If I can get at least 6 to 7 yeses, I can do an extra 15 and try to be done with all of them. Okay, so I'm getting 2 so far, 3, 4. Okay, I need at least 6. Okay, 5, 6. Awesome. So let me just quickly end at 45 so that I can finish this, because I've rarely ever repeated a session. So decide to be a risk taker and not a risk averse person. I am yet to see people that make it big in life and build their store value who have always made every decision from a comfort zone. There are certain times you need to come out from that space that you're comfortable for. I've had to do this over and over again. Take certain risks, certain trade-offs to get where you are. I have written a lot of books whilst being a student at Unza, held many positions, and sometimes it's a risky venture. I'm going to confess that. Sometimes there's trade-offs that you have to make, but you will not attain certain heights until you are willing to make certain risks. Certain things won't come without the sacrifice that risk involves at times. Sometimes you may be close and even, okay, this was close, but I made it, and you're grateful to God for it. But it won't happen until you take that risk. If you're doing things always in your comfort zone, then you're doing things when people expect you to do them. And guess what? When it is expected, it is not rewarded interestingly. When you do things that people were not expecting, the reward is great. As a student, those of you as students, I challenge you now. If the Bible was writing to say, I beseech you now, use this opportunity when you have got favor with authorities out there to maximize. It's harder when you go into the society and you're treated like everyone else. Trust me, you better start building certain things now, gaining favors now. There's stuff you'll be able to run without pain because you can ride on your favor now. Why? Because people are impressed that you're doing it now. So but it requires you being able to take certain level of risk. Don't always play it too safe. You will end up like the rest and never be like the rest. Let me quickly move to the other thing. This is a very interesting point. Decide to own goodwill and not shame. Something I picked up from one of my mentors. The other word of goodwill is favor. So in life, if you are loved by people, if people love you, they find you likable, you have so much favor with so many people, you start attracting good things. Among those good things are wealth, stores of value in money forms and non-money forms. I have seen favor doors where certain people just give me opportunities, certain people bless me with this, certain people decide to trust me with money, and I handle that money and it benefits all of us. So you need to decide to have favor with people. So become a people person. Don't tell me I'm an introvert. Be introverted, but be a people person. I don't know how you're going to do that, but crack that thing down. Become a people person. Because if you want to have attraction of wealth in life, you want to be a person that has got favor, that has got goodwill with people. When people think of you, they must think of a happy thought. They must think of a good person. They must think of a person of good character. They must want to recommend you. Today, sometimes I see people tag my name on opportunities on Facebook, which I would have never seen had they not tagged my name. And I thank God for such things. Sometimes they'll send me an opportunity to my WhatsApp. I didn't ask for it, it came. And guess what? It's something that plays into what I like, and I do it. Today, I'm a trainer for the International Labour Organization as an SIYB trainer. Guess what? Someone called me and told me, oh, I did this amazing thing. A friend of mine told me, says, and there's an opportunity, you don't want to miss it. If you miss it, it might not come again anytime soon. It's about to conclude. I said, sign me up. I paid for that class. It cost me money, but I was willing to go for it. I learned for it. And that favor that I had with that person today has returned so much value to me because someone remembered me. So find ways, learn about how you can be more likable if you're beginning to attract wealth. Be at peace with as many people as you can be, if possible, every person. Let me move to number 8. We're almost hitting 45, and I promised you I'll be done by 45. Decide to become teachable and not arrogant. Warren Buffett should be the one that says that the more you learn, the more you earn. And that statement can never be more true than it already is. I have seen this time and countless times again. If you build your knowledge bank, there's a good chance that you will begin to earn more. And those of you who've been attending these sessions from the time when we first started, I told you that there are 3 types of knowledge, 4 if I must add an extra one for a bonus. The first type of knowledge is known as fundamentals. Fundamentals, you learn these in school. They'll teach you in school the fundamentals of programming. If those of you who've done programming like I have, they'll teach you elements like object-oriented programming, and they'll teach you stuff like how you do queries and all those things, algorithms. So those are the fundamentals. Those things remain true over a long space of time. And schools are good at that. Why? Because schools know how to curate knowledge. So they help you learn step by step. Curation means that you can't learn B until you've learned A. And schools are good for that. And if you want to learn fundamentals, always be able to build going up. And that's why all my sessions, when I'm running them in a lecture form, always build from step to step to step. Why? Because it's also proven that people learn systematically. So schools are good at fundamentals. Another source that's good at fundamentals is books. So read books, okay? Love books. Sometimes it's courses. Those of you who attended trainings with us, you attest to this. You may not have known anything about e-commerce, you may not know about anything about business models, but after the course, all of a sudden you knew where to find bits and pieces. And before we do any additional trainings, we first do fundamentals. Because if you lack in fundamentals, the other things won't hold as much water. You'll be among the people who are doing stuff, but don't know why they do it. And you don't want to be that person in life. So start with building fundamentals in life. Then the second type of knowledge is what is known as information. Information, these are small bits of knowledge that are out there. For example, fundamentals in computer science or in programming is stuff like object programming. Information is how to code using Ruby and Python or different platform. That's current. And then all of a sudden it can also phase off. Back in the days, there was MS-DOS, there was C#, there was C, and those are being phased off, some of them, as time goes on. So information is stuff you get on the news. It's stuff you get on a blog, on Google. And the problem is today we are trying to use information to supplement for fundamentals. We feel some of us feel we are consultants just based on the stuff that we learned on Google. It is not enough. That's just information. When I took this journey for management consultancy, I had to go to school to learn this. I had to commit to reading books that build fundamentals on management consulting. That's when now information becomes important. Because information is like you trying to read the pieces of a book one by one. And you read page 49, then you reach page 120. How will you learn? Wait, let me start. How will you learn reading bits and pieces? So if you want to master anything in life and become good at it, make sure you have a proper balance of all these 3 types of knowledge. 4, if I must add the last one. And you will become a master at it if you do it consistently. The 3rd type of knowledge is known as skills. Skills is the practical element. When you've done instructions over and over again and you begin to understand how they fit into each other, that's the skill component of knowledge. And the world respects skilled people, okay? You may have knowledge in fundamental form, you may know the latest information, But if you cannot make it practicable by skills, again, you're at a disadvantage. But a person who knows all three will excel far beyond skills, because when they hit a snuggling block, what will help them redefine a solution to that problem is what they knew based on information and fundamentals. People who just learn the skill but don't know the fundamentals or the information, they'll never solve a problem unless the problem they were trained to solve. That's why it's important to learn the fundamentals. That's why I never shut down university students, college students, because they've learned the fundamentals. If they hit a problem, they are more likely to become innovative because their mind is wrapped around innovations. But if all you did was go direct to the skills, never learned the fundamentals, many people say, yes, go to trade school, trade school. Trade schools are good if they supplement both fundamentals and information. But if they only teach you a skill, you're going to be that person who never know how to turn the tap another way, because you only turn it clockwise and anti-clockwise. You'll never begin to think of all the other mechanisms that a tap could be turned. And that's why you must get information, skills, and fundamentals. Let me add the last type of knowledge. It is what is known as innovation. Innovation is when you start adding to the knowledge that already exists. And that's the best for consultants. When you start moving into the expert realm, you need to become innovative, create new content. I'm privileged today to know and say, I have generated content that I'm going to add to this generation and generations to come. And that's why you want to move, dimension yourself to that level of knowledge. I can't overemphasize that. Let me go to the 9th start. We finish. It's almost 45. Decide to automate your sales processes and own the sale. All right. If you want to make wealth and have money, I've seen this over and over again. If you automate, by automate, I mean you set systems in place. All right. And those systems are processes that are continuously selling for you. Your wealth, especially on the money side of the store of value, will increase. One of the things we consistently endeavor and make life, we've not stopped, we've not yet reached certain desired heights, but we consistently find a way of automating stuff. How will this operate with us always being actively involved? I love to tell some of our clients that there's active sales and there's passive sales. Some of you already know that. Active sales requires you to be present. A passive sale, you can be absent and you're still making money. And you are owning the sale in that. People who attract wealth in life know how to build automations in their systems. And there are different types of automation. Go ahead and research more. Number 10, then I give you a bonus, last one. Decide to manage money well and not mismanage money. This is clear cut. Money respects people who know how to manage it. By manage it, you need to be disciplined with it. As you are building your wealth, you need to be disciplined. Save, invest. You should honor, and also in your spending. Those are really the 3 dimensions where money is managed. How much you're spending, how much you're saving, how much you are investing. Keep a good hold on this, then your wealth is likely to start growing. All right. Know that you're saving, know that you're investing. So always, every year, know that. And make sure that when you're spending, you're able to use budgets, especially when you're starting up. There are some people who can afford to disobey these laws of wealth for some time, like I said, because they've got so much wealth already. So their measure of wealth in time is bigger than you. They will survive it. But you, if you decide to obey these, you're only starting off, you're going to break the strong foundation you've been building. Hold on to that management of money. Very soon, you'll become the next person people are talking about that's investing in huge ventures, because you are obeying these rules. Learn to live within your means. Please, I cannot overemphasize this. When I posted about how people have remained poverty, it's because of the lack, because of the inability to satisfy gratification. It's really true. Don't want to be cool for anybody. Don't drive a car you can't yet afford. Move pace by pace. There's stuff I could have afforded a long time ago. I haven't yet gone to buy them because I don't need them now. Not that I can't afford them. And that's beginning to show me value in stuff that I've invested in over time. So don't be too cool for nothing. The bonus one is this. Decide to be curious enough to ask the right questions. This is something I said I'm just going to have to share this with you, and I hope you get to learn this. I wish I could go ahead and go to all the 15 that I was going to be able to share, but time wouldn't allow me. I knew it wouldn't allow me. I've already extended my welcome. But in life, people will only tell you enough until you decide to ask the questions. When you're in the presence of the greats, always have a question for them that will help them expose to you secrets they'll never tell you. That's why normally I get surprised when I ask people to ask me certain questions. Not that I'm claiming that I'm great, but there are certain things I've realized that people who ask me, I end up telling them, because when you ask, you determine how much you know. When you don't ask, people determine how much you know. So today, if you're a person who says, "Man, I don't ask questions," let me just please encourage you. Redefine that position in your life. Please start asking questions, because when you ask questions, you're curious enough, you will determine how much you know. Go to Google, ask it questions, the right type of questions, things that you can begin to dig into. Sometimes it'll just be this thought process and say, let me get to investigate this thing. I'll be curious, I'll investigate it down and down until I get the answers. Time will not allow me. Thank you so much. If you ever want to get in touch with me, those are the Make Life handles, my personal Make Life email, and we can have a chat and discuss. You can go through WhatsApp and I'll be able to get that message. I'm going to hand over. Is Aaron in the house?